America's Cold War, Chapter 8, A New Cold War. Part 8, Star Wars. In 1985, when the military budget hit $294.7 billion, a doubling since 1980, and the Pentagon was burning through an average of $28 million per hour, defense spending finally slowed, but resources were being shifted to a high-cost project, the Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, or to its critiques, Star Wars. In a surprise presidential speech in March 1983, not one cleared with any senior foreign policy advisors, the president had announced that the United States would commence a major effort to deploy a space-based missile defense system. The idea was hardly new. For more than 2 decades, scientists and policymakers had explored providing a defense against attack using missiles and associated radar and computer systems. The new initiative, set to cost hundreds of billions of dollars over the next decades, would be designed to shoot intercontinental ballistic missiles out of the sky, thereby protecting the United States from any kind of Soviet nuclear attack and depriving the Soviet state of its ability to retaliate against an American attack. SDI aimed to make mutually assured destruction obsolete. This was Reagan's stated goal. Critics immediately denounced the plan. To many strategic thinkers, it threatened to undermine the stability of MAD, and thus the long peace that had been sustained between the United States and the Soviet Union. The arms race would almost certainly speed up. Scientists, meanwhile, saw gaping technological holes. Any space-based missile defense system would be highly vulnerable to inexpensive countermeasures, including launching sandbags or bits of metal into space before a missile attack, in order to damage sensors and confuse detection. Or, since the defensive shield could never provide total coverage, the enemy could simply build and fire off more missiles. Offense would always overwhelm defense. Other opponents pointed to the price tag. The United States, already running a large deficit as a consequence of the trifecta of major military spending, tax cuts, and growing trade imbalance with Japan and other nations, could hardly afford to develop a scientifically questionable space system that might cost more than $1 trillion by the time it was completed. The announcement of SDI, coming at the height of Reagan's remilitarization of the Cold War, was regarded by critics at home and abroad as merely the most extreme aspect of the administration's apparent attempt to destroy détente and revive the possibility of World War III. Not only was the system technologically questionable, but more ominously, its development suggested that the White House might be seriously pursuing a first-strike capability. Without question, there were figures in the White House and the Pentagon who entertained such thoughts. Soviet scientists shared their American counterparts' skepticism that a workable system could be devised, but Kremlin officials were becoming nervous. Were the Americans really willing to abandon the stability of mutually assured destruction? Did they actually believe that a nuclear war was winnable? Soviet leaders, schooled, like all their predecessors, in a world of unremitting power politics and feeling absolutely reliant on nuclear deterrence for their nation's security, had to take such questions seriously. The United States had been going on the offensive, it seemed, in various areas of the world. It was building up its military beyond any rational requirement. It was deploying offensive nuclear weaponry in Europe, and now it threatened to overturn the stable, if brutal, formula of MAD by proposing a defensive shield that could free American leaders to embark on the insanity of nuclear war. To the Soviet Politburo, and to many independent observers of the international scene, it all pointed to an uncomfortable conclusion. Not since the harrowing crisis period of the late 50s and early 60s had the Cold War been this dangerous. End of Part 8.